Habs Leafs on a Saturday night, hockey night in Canada. Leafs win 5-1. Let's talk about it. Before we get into the details of the game, I just want to say the addition of O'Reilly and Acciari were definitely noticeable tonight, and it's a good idea that they came directly to Toronto for tonight's game. Kind of just get with the team as quickly as possible and get comfortable with the players. And, you know, O'Reilly knew some of the players from the Worlds, so he was just getting reunited with them and kind of getting to know all the other players on the team. In the first period, Keefe has O'Reilly starting, the second line with Tavares, and he wins the faceoff, and O'Reilly ends up almost scoring 15 seconds into the game. It was a very high tempo to start. The entire team was on the puck early and got some good cycle going in the offensive zone. One thing in the Leafs zone, though, that I noticed is that the defense, they really have to help Wall out a bit better. And they really have to help whoever's in net, for that matter, by tying up the players in front of the net. And then when the goalie is trying to cover the puck, the defense have to tie those players up. Otherwise, it's going to be, jarred loose and going to be in the back of your net like it was the last time Wall played. So the defense still have to do a better job in front of the net. They have to be a little bit more aggressive. Let's see. Acciari has a few scoring opportunities into the first and has a few solid hits. Gets him into the game. Leafs pressure the Canadiens. And again, they get another good cycle going. Let's see. O'Reilly and Acciari getting used to playing with their line mates. And there's lots of communication that I noticed going on the bench with the players. And O'Reilly talking to Tavares and the other guys on his line. And Acciari's talking to the coaches. And they're just communicating. They're trying to, feel out each other on the ice and in the play and just work out the details. So it's good to see them communicating so much on the bench. At the end of the first, the Leafs have been winning 63% of the faceoffs, and they have 13 hits after the first, and there was no score after one. In the second, Brody's shot blocked early. The Habs controlled the play and ended up striking first. At 42 seconds into the second, Anderson with a high tip from Matheson and Harris. Shortly after that, Acciari gets another good chance. Marner drives the play and draws a penalty. On the power play, at 5:32, Bunting scores from Matthews and Sandin. A few minutes later, Habs go on the power play. Tavares, 2 minutes for hooking. The Leafs manage to kill it off. The Habs get a 2-on-1. Wall with a good save. The Habs would get a few shorthanded chances throughout the night, and Wall came up huge on all those opportunities. And then at 13:20 into the second, Engvall scores on a turnover, and it leaks through Allen. Allen thought he had it. It leaked through him, and it was unassisted. And this was the Leafs' first lead of the night. Hoffman gets a breakaway on Wall. Wall with the big save, and then Hoffman runs right into Wall. He'd be okay. But then Matthews with a 3-on-1 and ends up missing the net. He doesn't miss those too often. Leafs control the play again and draw another penalty. Savard, 2 minutes for hooking on Matthews. Looked like right in the hands. Hurt Matthews' hand. He was seen shaking his hand after the play ended. Nylander pulls it behind Allen, but it stays out. It goes between Allen's legs. He's managed to close his legs while he's down and keeps it out. And then at 18:20, the Leafs score. Bunting from Yankroke and O'Reilly. And this is O'Reilly's first point as a Leaf tonight. And The one thing I noticed in the second is the Leafs have to control the number of giveaways. So by the end of the night, the number of giveaways, the Leafs had given away 10 opportunities. The Habs with 8. But the Leafs have to really tighten up there if they're hoping to win in the playoffs. In the third, the Leafs are dominating early. Matthews gets pinned to the boards. He manages to get his stick free, passes it out to Nylander, who's standing out in front of the net. And there's a penalty that's going to be called for the holding on Matthews. But at 3:47, Nylander manages to score from Matthews and Giordano. The Leafs right back into the Habs zone after that goal, and the fourth line establishes some good zone time. And then in the building, the chants after a while start, the goalies go chants. And that's when the game really gets taken over by the Leafs. But the Habs, they're not going away. They get another chance on Wall, another 2-on-1, but Wall comes up big again and makes the save. Then we have a penalty on Harvey Pinard at 2 minutes for high sticking on Bunting. And I noticed in this game, Bunting, he wasn't, over the top pesky like the last couple of games where, he wasn't getting a call. He'd constantly be arguing with the refs and provoking players, going down easy. Tonight, completely different. He played a hard game, he still got in front of the net and got on players' nerves, but he didn't retaliate, didn't push back, just took it and then managed to draw a penalty on the high stick. O'Reilly starts in the power play and wins the draw. Habs almost get a breakaway chance on a bad entry by the Leafs on that power play, but managed to recover. Acciari with a chance alone in front of the net. And then Kampf picks up the rebound from Sandin's point shot. And at 14:53, Kampf from Engvall and Sandin. So at some point, I guess Engvall touched the puck. They awarded him with an assist. Sandin had the initial shot from the point. And then Engvall, apparently, I guess he tipped it, and Kampf buried it at 14:53. I didn't see where Engvall had touched that puck. The Habs, again, have a strong push, but Wall makes a few more big saves towards the end of the game. And Acciari with one last rush, and that is saved by Allen. Overall, the Leafs, they really need to reduce the number of giveaways, like I had mentioned earlier. So they really need to focus on that when they have time for practice this week. They play in Chicago tomorrow, so they're on a charter plane tonight. I believe it's at 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. They play against Chicago, and I believe Shalgren gets the start with that. Overall, Wall had some really good saves tonight early in the second before the Leafs scored, and really shut the door after letting one in. But the Leafs dominated on the faceoff dot, winning. Let's see what their faceoff percentage, 60% of the faceoffs won by the Leafs and 40% by the Habs. Power plays, the Leafs had 1 for 3 on the power play. The Canadiens had 0 for 1. The defense, again, like I had mentioned earlier, needs to do a better job in front of Wall. And they seem to do a little bit better in the latter half of the second and going into the third. But they have to be a lot more aggressive in front of the goalie. And another thing that I noticed with O'Reilly, he had 16-12 of ice time, 145 on the power play for 1 point. So he was definitely noticeable. And then Acciari had 14 minutes, 22 seconds of ice time. He had 6 shots on goal and 5 hits. He was really noticeable out there. He was pressuring the puck a lot and had a lot of good opportunities, especially for his first game with a new team. I never really knew much or anything about Acciari before tonight. So it definitely was a welcomed sight to see a brand new player coming in and being noticeable right away. So that was a good addition there by Dubas. And then this is Wall's first win at the Scotiabank Arena. And with Keefe, it's 150 wins for him as head coach of the Leafs. So there we have it. Overall, it was a good game by the Leafs. They started a bit slow at the beginning. After the first few minutes, they were dominating a little bit, but then they kind of lost it. Canadiens started pushing back, but they kept it scoreless after one, and then just came out in the second a lot more aggressive, a lot faster. But it'll get better as time goes on. And again, when O'Reilly and Acciari start feeling a bit more comfortable with their line mates. So Leafs still have a bit to work on, but that's okay. You don't want them to peak too soon coming into the playoffs. They have, I don't know, about 23, 24 games left, I would believe. Not exactly sure. I'd have to check to make sure. But, it's a good number of games to get comfortable. And we still have another couple of weeks of the trade deadline left. So Dubas could end up adding another player. I'm hoping that maybe he'll shore up the defense with an addition back there, just so they have some other options and some other opportunities. But other than that, it was a good win for the Leafs overall. Their first win against the Canadiens this year, and they'll play the Canadiens again next month. So that's it for this game. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you here tomorrow for the recap of the Leafs and Chicago game. Have a good night.